Everybody's heard of Alec Baldwin and the movie Rust and the shooting and all the rest. But it will play itself out in the courts at some point, I would assume. Sandra Spurgeon, an undefeated trial attorney, more than 120 state and federal cases. She's successfully litigated. She's also the author of Courage to Stand, Mastering Trial Strategies and Techniques in the Courtroom. First of all, thank you for being with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, Rick.
You know, I got to say, when I first saw this on my rundown, I wanted to be a doctor in so many ways, and flunked out second year. All my family were police officers, either at a regional or federal level. I ended up the black sheep by going to law school and as a contract attorney. But my mentor, and you know, I've never litigated a case in the courtroom. That wasn't what I did. I did contracts. But my mentor was a guy named Jerry Spence, out of Wyoming, and just I think the biggest compliment he ever gave me was, you're a thoroughly dangerous guy. I'm glad you're not in the courtroom. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's talk about Alec Baldwin for a minute. I mean, it's hard to tell where the person stops and the actor begins, or vice versa. This whole thing seems upside down to me.
Well, it does. I mean, I think that the length of time of investigation, when I sat down and looked at it for you earlier today, I mean, it's clear that it's coming up on the 1 year anniversary of this event, and I am certain that this prosecutor and her office is under some pressure to take action before the 1 year the 1 year time frame. So I think that that's what's giving this momentum. It's almost unheard of that charges haven't been filed to date. You would believe that it would almost be obligatory given some of the information that has come out about the shooting.
Yeah, you know, Alec Baldwin from time to time, which is not unusual the longer this goes, I guess, but he'll come up every once in a while and make a statement which raises more questions than it answers, I think. But I know New Mexico has granted money for possible prosecutions connected to this film, this shooting. And what's the status of other people being involved here?
Well, I think that the prosecutor's statement says that, that charges are imminent, that they're going to charge between 1 and 4 people. And, she asked for funding for a full-time prosecutor, an assistant, and an investigator,
right.
To be able to devote to getting the investigation done. Okay, after a year, you're investigating. What is it? They should be ready to present this to a grand jury to make the determination. And look, I know that he comes across as a scoundrel and he's not well liked by the media, but I find it very difficult to believe that he would be charged with homicide. I think it would be very difficult to charge him in particular with manslaughter. I think that there were processes in place that he was, as part of doing what he does, a part of habit and practice in, relying upon those hired by the production company to ensure safety on the work set, if you will. I think that it is it is a strong defense for him. I think it would be very difficult for a jury to find him guilty. They could find him, they could charge him with negligent use of a deadly weapon. I'm not certain if the scene called for him to be pointing the weapon or not, but it is, I think there's information that we don't have yet is why was there live ammunition on that set for any reason at any time? And I think given that point alone, I think that the armorer will get charged. I do believe that she will get charged because that was fit within her duties and responsibilities to ensure that that safe was set and those guns did not have live ammunition.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely on point. I've received more email than I can count about, I hope they prosecute Alec Baldwin to the fullest extent of the law. And, I always say the same thing. I don't think you're going to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the bar high enough to go for homicide. Negligence, perhaps, but that depends on the other 2 or 3 people and what part they played or didn't play in the events that caused this death. Homicide is not just something you can throw out there and go after. As a matter of fact, a lot of prosecutors won't go after it. They don't feel they've got the case to do it. That's where the emotion has to stop and the legal process has to come in. But when do you think we're going to see something happen on this? You think it'll be in the next 6 months?
Oh, I think you'll see an indictment in the next 30 days. I mean, I think that's exactly why we're seeing the request for the funding, because it certainly does not look good that it has been almost a year that this family lost a wife and a mother and a child,
right?
To this unfortunate, inexcusable incident. And I think that had the facts been presented to a grand jury already, you would already be seeing the indictments. And I will tell you that, what he needed was a crisis manager. Mr. Baldwin needed, and whether he had one and wasn't following the advice of his counsel and the crisis management team, but it certainly does not behoove him to be making public statements.
Right.
I know he felt some pressure to do it because, the longer it drags out, he knows he looked bad. He knows that the situation looked horrible. And I believe that he feels the need to be vindicated. I mean, I'm certain that he's wanting to continue to work. But in this instance, every little thing he says has been taken and has been twisted. And he really needed to have let this court proceeding play out, however long that it took. And he and his wife have chosen to make, to come out and make these statements. And the media has just scrutinized him, because he's engaged in such bad behavior in the past, and that he's really unfavored in the public eye. But I don't think that any of us can look at the grief on his face moments after that shooting occurred and would believe that he had any knowledge that there was live ammunition in that gun, regardless of what you think about him.
No, precisely. Talking with Sandra Spurgeon, undefeated trial attorney, which is impressive to me, more than 120 state and federal cases she's litigated, author of Courage to Stand, Mastering Trial Strategies and Techniques in the Courtroom. How did you get to the point where you wrote a book?
In 2017, I left the practice of law for a little bit of time. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I consulted with those closest to me, people that I respected, about what's next. I felt like I had accomplished as much as I could in the field that I was in at that time. And they asked me, what are you doing to pay forward? And I said, what do I have to pay forward with? I've worked my entire life with my head down, battling it out in the courtroom to great personal sacrifice to me and my family. And they said, exactly, you need gratitude.
Yep, there you go.
And the way that you give gratitude, you pay it forward to other young men and women who haven't had the opportunity to be in the courtroom like you, and you tell them about it. And I really was so surprised. It shot to Amazon to a #1 bestseller within the first hour of 7 categories. It is now the #1 bestseller in electronic books in the area of the law. And so 99,000 copies sold within the first month. And so it became such a blessing to me that, you don't think about it. You're living life right now, and you don't really think about every day when you get out of bed, what impact am I going to have on others today? And, if you live and you practice and whatever your specialty is, at the end of the day, you have a tremendous impact on others. And I just feel very fortunate that I was allowed and given the opportunity to write the book. And I have another coming out. It's called Surviving Greatness. It'll be out in January. So follow me on Facebook and Instagram so that you can see the launch date, because it is really talking about finding your way in life after you've lived life and it's beaten you down, and how you claw your way back. It's it's a fictional book, but really written on my life story.
Sandra Spurgeon, I'm glad we had some time to chat. Hopefully we get a chance to talk again soon.
Anytime, Rick, give me a call. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it very much.